All right, let's talk about it. It's your boy, aka Mr. PhD, back with some more BRICS information. I have older videos pinned at the top of my page talking about this subject, but I got some new stuff going, and let's go ahead and get into it. So, the BRICS nation is now trying to use the R5, which is going to stand for the riel, the ruby, the rupee, the renminbi, and the rand. They want to use that to replace the dollar and de-dollarize the eastern side of the civilization. So as you see, we already know that 80% of the trade carried out between Russia and China is settled in either Russian rubles or Chinese yuan. And this comes from Chris Weaver, who's an investment analyst at Macro Advisory, a strategic consultant. So not just them, but outside of BRICS core group, other countries have also begun trading in local currencies. The United Arab Emirates and India have signed an agreement enabling them to settle trade payments in rupees instead of dollars. Now, FX claims that the universal appeal and liquidity of the US dollar is hard to replace, and it is these qualities which ensures continued use as a medium of trade between different countries. But I don't think that's going to be accurate for much longer. To replace the dollar, countries would have to transact in each other's currencies, which can be problematic for the exchange and all that. But with they moving to a more universal currency in the BRICS nation and having it backed by gold, I believe that is going to substantially change that fact. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Back to the article now. Firstly, most of these currencies do not have the widespread appeal and liquidity of the dollar. As such, they are not as reliable a store of value. So in order for widespread trade to occur, countries would need to hold large reserves of the currency to facilitate transactions, and this is according to, again, Chris Weaver. So here's one key threat to the dominance of the US dollar, and it lies in the growth and the popularity of BRICS as a trade association. From starting out as a loose federation of the 5 founding countries, that has grown to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. That is important. In 2023, Algeria and Tunisia also applied to join but had their applications rejected because of their unstable domestic economies. Another major risk comes from the fact that the founding members are all members of their own regional trade alliances, and if BRICS came to adopt these alliances under its umbrella of trade alliances, de-dollarization would become more of a realistic threat, and that is something you need to pay attention to because that is currently happening. China is also a member of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. India is in the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Russia is in part of the Eurasian Economic Union and the Commonwealth of Independent States. Brazil is in the Southern Common Market, and South Africa is in the Southern African Customs Union. That's a lot. If BRICS successfully launches the R5, there is a legitimate threat that the trade groupings of these countries will also feel compelled to adopt the R5, at least alongside the US dollar, if not as a replacement. There you go. And if that's not enough, you can look at it historically. So look at this. When the Netherlands was the world's leading economy in the 17th century, the Dutch guilder became the world's reserve currency. Then in the 19th century, the British pound became the world's leading currency due to increasing power of the British Empire. Finally, after the collapse of the British Empire, at the end of the Second World War, the US took over and became the world's leading economy, with its dollar replacing the pound as the reserve currency. Now, we have been in power since then, and how long has it been? Moving on, Dalio expects the cycle will continue through America, eventually being toppled by greater economic power. At that point, the US dollar will also lose its relevance. It is more likely that the next world power will come from BRICS, probably in the form of China, they say, but I think it's going to come in the form of Russia. So what does this all mean for you? Well, the United States depends on global demand to underpin its prolific borrowing and spending. De-dollarization could lead to a dollar gut, says Mike Mahiri, an analyst at Money Metals Exchange. A de-dollarization of the world economy could cause the value of the U.S. currency to crash and likely spark a currency crisis. Americans would feel the impact through more price inflation, eating away at the purchasing power of the dollar. At the extreme, it could even lead to hyperinflation. So what is hyperinflation? Here you go. Pause the read. Did you guys pay attention to that part down there? Did you see it down there? Did you see that part? Did you pay attention? You probably should. So I looked up examples of like what hyperinflation is. And this one stuck out to me. Zimbabwe, prices doubled every day. In the troubled Yugoslavia of the 1990s, inflation hit 50% a year. Like, these are just examples of what could happen with hyperinflation and price hikes. Hyperinflation is an extreme state of inflation resulting from severe currency devaluation, soaring debt, loss of confidence in the country, and government printing of money. Yeah. So I'm gonna drop this here in case you wonder, like, well, how do you beat that? How do you stay out of that type of situation or that vicious cycle of debt? Well, there you go. Who benefits most from hyperinflation? People whose wealth is primarily in the form of real estate and assets that do not lose their value, such as commodities. No gatekeeping here.